And now viewers, on to the top breaking news coming in. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has played a pivotal role in persuading Russian President Vladimir Putin against using tactical nuclear weapons during the Ukraine war in late 2022. Poland's Deputy Foreign Minister has made this claim. Speaking at a press conference after the India-Poland Joint Economic Commission meeting in New Delhi, the Foreign Minister of Poland said Prime Minister Modi is one of the few world leaders whose counsel Putin takes seriously owing to India's decades-old strategic ties with Moscow. He described Prime Minister Modi as a very well-known world statesman and said Putin actually pays attention to what the Indian Prime Minister tells him. Let's listen in to the minister.
Well, the main way for India could play a big part is political. You've got Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is a very well-known world statesman, who is well respected, and who India has a long-standing relationship with the Russian Federation, and before that with the Soviet Union, as a non-aligned nation. And President Putin actually pays attention to what Prime Minister Modi tells him. I said so some time ago, and caused a bit of a stir in India when I mentioned the role Prime Minister Modi played in stopping Putin using tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine at the end of 2022. But it's true, Prime Minister Modi is one of the few people who actually can exert some pressure and influence on President Putin, and that is clearly something India could do to stop this conflict. Well.
And now my colleague Atul Ranjan joins us on this. Atul, this is a big affirmation and a cheer for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's diplomacy coming in straight from Poland's foreign minister.
Well, certainly a big affirmation for Prime Minister Modi and India as well, which has maintained that, peace and, diplomacy is the way forward. And, certainly that, this sort of escalation is something which is not really justified. And that is what Prime Minister Modi and India had maintained right through the, since the beginning of this war. And if you remember, that is what, the Prime Minister Modi also famously said in September 2022, that, this is not an era of war. And that particular statement of Prime Minister Modi was, picked up by different Western leaders as well. They also reiterated Prime Minister Modi's statement to warn and caution Russia against any continued aggression in Ukraine. Now that statement came in a phase when Russia was obviously facing setbacks militarily in the war, and that is when it was mulling. The reports came about Russia mulling about using nuclear weapons, and that is when India, and according to the Polish Foreign Minister, Deputy Foreign Minister as well, that China as well, Chinese leadership as well cautioned Russia that this sort of escalation is unwarranted, and that the India or China, be it, won't be supporting Russia in any such move. So that has certainly been reaffirmed by the US the Polish Deputy Foreign Minister, and certainly sort of praises India's foreign policy and its stand when it comes to Russia-Ukraine war.
Absolutely, Atul. Stay on with me. I'm in fact also joined in now by Ambassador Suresh Goyal, former diplomat. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us. Now, this is the Deputy Foreign Minister of Poland who's hailed Prime Minister Modi's diplomacy, who's gone on to talk about how because Russian President listened to Prime Minister Modi, Russia did not use tactical nuclear weapons in 2022 during the initial period of its war with Ukraine. What does this really mean about India's growing global stature?
You said which Deputy Foreign Minister?
Poland's Deputy Foreign Minister. Yes, Bartuszewski.
Yes, and what did he say?
He talked about how Prime Minister Modi had communicated with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, and how Putin paid heed to the Prime Minister when he said that Russia should not use tactical nuclear weapons in the war with Ukraine in 2022.
Yes, that was 2022. Well, the fact is that the Russia-Ukraine war for the last 4 years has been going on basically in a low key. It is never war of attrition. I don't think either Russia or anyone else is going to be using tactical weapons in the war now. It is basically trying to see who can fight the longest and acquisition of territory. These are the two things, and I think ultimately any intervention, even the USA intervention, will not succeed. So we have to wait and see till they wear each other out. That's the only way really, but otherwise I don't see any new initiative on board or any new development which can create a hope of bringing the war between Russia and Ukraine to an end.
All right, Ambassador, thank you very much once again. A cheer with for Prime Minister Narendra Modi and India's